When you think about vendor lock-in, your mind probably jumps straight to the tech stuff, right? Code, APIs, proprietary data formats. But what if I told you the real prison, the strongest one, isn't built with technology at all? Nope, it's built with good old-fashioned paper and ink. Today, we're going to dig into how contracts create these traps that can be way more binding than any piece of software.
Okay, before we really get into it, we've got to do the quick but super important legal stuff. So just so you know, this is Module 4 of a 10-part series on researching vendor lock-in. All this is based on some really comprehensive research from Virtualization Options LLC. But remember, we're talking general principles here. This is not legal advice, not by a long shot. You should always work with your own legal counsel who knows the laws in your specific area. Okay, got it? Good. Let's get started.
So yeah, we're moving beyond just the technical weeds here. Look, things like data formats and custom APIs, they're huge barriers, for sure. But it's the contract that gives those barriers legal teeth. It's what turns a difficult situation into a potential breach of contract if you try to leave. And this quote right here just nails it. You could have the most open, the most portable, standards-based system on the planet, but it won't help you one bit if your contract makes switching just financially impossible. Those financial handcuffs, they can be just as tight, if not tighter, than any technical ones. So where are these traps hiding? Well, they're buried deep in the fine print, often cleverly disguised as just standard boilerplate language. So let's grab our magnifying glasses and really uncover the specific clauses that vendors use to lock you in.
And this image, it really paints a picture of the problem, doesn't it? These contracts are intentionally dense, they're complex, and honestly, they're designed to be overwhelming. The real danger isn't always some single, glaringly obvious clause. It's often how a bunch of seemingly innocent phrases all work together to build a cage around you. Okay, first up, let's talk about trap number 1, restrictive licensing. Think about it for a second. A per-user license that you can't reassign when people's roles change, or deployment rules that literally dictate your entire server setup. But the sneakiest one, it's got to be that last point. A license that says when you terminate the contract, you lose access to your own historical data. I mean, that's not just lock-in, that's a data hostage situation, plain and simple.
All right, next on the list, the financial punishments. Vendors are absolute masters at making it painful and expensive to leave. They'll slap you with massive early termination penalties. Some will even have the nerve to charge you to get your own data back, sometimes on a per gigabyte basis. That can run into hundreds of thousands of dollars easy. The whole game is to make the cost of leaving higher than the cost of staying, even if you're miserable with their service.
Forced bundling, the classic all-or-nothing deal. You might only need one really great application, but to get it, you're forced to buy their entire, often mediocre product suite. This is a double whammy. Not only are you paying for a bunch of stuff you don't need, but it also stops you from going out and picking a superior, best-of-breed product from a competitor. It just pulls you deeper and deeper into that single vendor's world.
And finally, let's talk about the slow bleed, price escalation. You've seen these, right? Multi-year contracts with auto-renewal clauses. They lock you into these predictable price hikes, often with language like 5% or the consumer price index, whichever is greater. What this does is it completely strips away your negotiating power and makes sure you can never take advantage of better, more competitive pricing that might pop up on the market. Now look, these traps aren't just theoretical concepts in a textbook. They have massive, real-world consequences. To see just how bad it can get, let's look at the famous, or maybe infamous, case of the city of Munich and its Linux project. It's a perfect cautionary tale about what happens when you underestimate lock-in. I mean, this was an absolutely epic undertaking. Back in 2003, Munich decides it wants to move 15,000 computers off of Microsoft and onto Linux and open source software. The goal? To slash licensing costs and break free from dependency. But what actually happened was a brutal 14-year struggle. They battled technical issues, human resistance, political opposition, and it all ended in 2017 with a complete reversal of the project.
So what went wrong? Why did it struggle so much? Well, yeah, the technical hurdles were a huge part of it. I'm talking workflows that were totally built around Microsoft Office macros. They just broke. Proprietary file formats that wouldn't translate. But honestly, the bigger issues were human. You had employees who just resisted changing from familiar tools, and productivity tanked. And then the whole thing became a political football with tons of lobbying from the outside. It's a really powerful reminder that lock-in is just as much about people and politics as it is about technology. Okay, so that's the problem. That's the scary part. Now,
let's talk about the solution. How do you avoid falling into these traps? Well, it all starts by treating your next vendor contract like a prenup. You absolutely have to plan for the breakup before you even start the relationship. And that brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? So, how do you actually protect your organization before you put pen to paper? How do you figure out what we call leavability while you still have all the leverage on your side? This slide right here, this is your essential pre-flight checklist. Let's walk through these because they're critical. First, you've got to talk money. What are the specific costs if we terminate early? At what cost will you give us our data back? Are there penalties for just reducing how much we use? Then the logistics. What format will our data be in when we exit? And this one's huge. Will you cooperate with our third-party migration specialists? And finally, who owns the data? What happens to all our historical data after we leave? I'm telling you, if a vendor gets cagey or vague about any of these questions, that is a massive red flag. Let's just pause on this for a second, because if you take one thing away from this whole explainer, it should be this. The best time to negotiate your exit is before you even walk in the door. Your power is at its absolute peak before you're dependent on them. The moment your data is in their system and your teams are trained on their software, they know they've got you. So negotiate that exit when you're in a position of strength, not desperation. Now, beyond the contract itself, your own technical strategy can be an incredibly powerful defense. You can actually architect your systems from day one in a way that minimizes dependency on any single vendor. And this image here is a brilliant illustration of one of the most effective strategies out there today, multi-cloud. By intentionally spreading your workloads and dependencies across different cloud providers, you stop any single one of them from becoming indispensable. It keeps them honest, it ensures you always have leverage. It puts you back in the driver's seat. The contrast here on this slide is just so clear. On the one hand, you have this single vendor ecosystem. That path on the left, that means your company's roadmap is basically their roadmap. You lose power, you lose control. But the path on the right, strategic diversification, that's different. It distributes your risk, it keeps that healthy competitive pressure on your vendors, and it lets you choose the best tool for the job every time. And it doesn't stop there. There are other really powerful strategies for freedom. You can consciously diversify your vendors, even within a single cloud, based on how critical a service is. You can strategically use open source software for key components, which always gives you an escape hatch. Or you can build a hybrid architecture, combining your own on-prem infrastructure with multiple clouds to give you the ultimate flexibility and control. So we're going to end with this question, and I really want you to think about it. Is your vendor contracts a partnership, or is it a prison? I mean it. Go back and look at your key vendor contracts. Are they written to create a true partnership with clear, fair terms for what happens if you part ways? Or are they designed to be a prison, super easy to get into, but nearly impossible to leave? The answer to that question could have some really profound implications for the future of your business.